All right, hello and welcome to Backstage with Gig Performer. My name is Brett Pontecorvo, and if you don't know me, perhaps you have seen me at Live Keyboardist, the blog, the YouTube channel, or perhaps you've seen me on Backstage with Gig Performer. We are here every single Thursday from 12 to 1, and since we are live, my microphone is too low, and I'm going to turn a knob here. And that's going to be awesome. So today we are talking about Gig Performer 4.1, which I am super excited about because it's just come out right now. So if you are a current Gig Performer 4 license holder, you now have access to Gig Performer 4.1, and we're going to go through all of the updates that are included. If you were with us last week, we're going to kind of go over some of the same things, but in context. So I'm going to show you some ways that maybe they could be useful for you. But if you check for updates from within Gig Performer right now, you will get a pop-up that prompts you for to download Gig Performer 4.1. So today I want to focus first and foremost on a really new and exciting feature that is included in Gig Performer 4.1, and what that is the ability to load your PDFs into Gig Performer. So I'm going to pop in, but hey, if you are downloading Gig Performer 4.1 right now, I want you to let me know in the comments. Just be like, Brett, I got the update. Let me know in the comments, Brett, I got it. And if you have already saw it, maybe you were opening it immediately, let me know. Just be like, hey, I'm really excited for this feature. I'm really excited for this thing. Bob Miller just wrote, did somebody say PDF? Yes, I am extremely excited about this because we've been waiting for it. We've been waiting for this type of feature, and we're here. So I'm going to pop this up on the screen, and let's get to it. So what Gig Performer allows us to do now is to drag PDFs in and use them from within ChordPro. So right now, I've got a cabaret night that I did a while ago. If there are any musical theater players in the house right now, let me know. Hey, Brett, I've been playing musical theater. That's actually where my roots are, and so PDFs I am extremely familiar with. But Gig Performer has made a little extra device here called PDF to ChordPro. And this is extra. So in order to download this, you've got to go to the Gig Performer website. And so what I'm actually going to do is right now I'm going to put a link in the comments. So if you want to grab a copy of this to follow along, you can check that out here. And there's also some instructions that'll walk you through this. But what we're going to do is we're going to start by prepping. We want to get our file ready to be used within ChordPro. So what we're going to do is I'm going to drag in Breathe, which is a song from In the Heights, right into this little mini program here. And then I'm just going to wait, and it's going to say here, ChordPro template copied to the clipboard. In Gig Performer, open the Songs Lyrics window, and then on the Edit tab, paste the clipboard contents, and then save the ChordPro file. So let's do it. I'm going to head over into Setlist View, and you can see I've actually already created a song for Breathe, but I am going to open my Songs and Lyrics window. And when I do that, for those of you who are familiar with the ChordPro editor, you will notice that we have both a view and an edit option here. So I want to toggle over to edit, and I'm going to paste. And you'll see it's pasted in a bunch of these links, which are basically pointing Gig Performer to the individual pages of your song. So when I go over to view, you will see, this is really nice, guys. You will see that your PDF is living inside ChordPro. Now, there are some other goodies here. One of them is this button that says Auto Fit Images. So without that button, this would just sort of be like, hey, here's your sheet music, right? But we've got this included up at the top. It's going to resize it so that everything sits, and we'll check Keep on top here. And I'm just going to hit Save as well so that we know, hey, I'm not going to lose it. Now, last week, we were talking a little bit about Gig Performer 4.1's ability to scroll from a widget. So you get all the same functionality that was included with a standard ChordPro file, except for transposition, but you get all of the movement that you would get in a ChordPro file from within this image, this PDF. So what's kind of cool is if you check this out, you can see that there's a song part name for each page, right? So we've got song part 1, we've got song part 2, we've got song part 3. And so what this gives us the ability to do is, using our song parts, we could actually turn these pages. So for example, if I were to label this 1 and label this 2, then when I switch between song parts, my pages are going to turn for me, which is insanely awesome. Now, you might be thinking, hey, Brett, naming my song parts 1, 2, 3, 4 is not going to work for me. To which I would say that is totally fine, because within Gig Performer, we have the ability to change this. So if I wanted my song part name 1 to be intro, I could go ahead and just change it and have it be labeled as intro. And maybe my second is going to be Vox in, right? Does anybody else think like that? Oh, I know the solo is going to start here. So then I can go ahead and rename this to match. And when I go back, I'm going to get that same functionality based on song part. If this is a feature you think you are going to be using in the future, let me know, because this is something I'm definitely going to be using. As a matter of fact, I've got a cabaret coming up very soon, and I'm going to just turn my pages in Gig Performer, because why not? It makes a ton of sense for me. So if this is something you're going to be using, definitely let us know that in the comments right now. But these are not the only features that are included in our Gig Performer 4.1 update. We also have the ability to copy and paste global parameters. We have the ability to directly select song parts or variations. We've got Patrick Lee popping on here that says, yes, we'll definitely use this feature. Bob Miller definitely using this and already scrambling to get another monitor output. Yes, absolutely. It's a nice thing here. So what I thought would be interesting to do today, since we covered a lot of the new included features last week, what I thought would be nice is to use some of these features in context to see really how it's, we're not just packing on features here. We're not just like feature creation robots. All we're doing really is saying, hey, how do we make Gig Performer more applicable to people who are actually performing music? So I want to do some of this in context. Also want to mention, we'll pause for a bit, pause in a bit for questions. We have Nebojsa actually with us to answer any questions you might have about what's going on here. We've got Miguel Lopez popping in saying yes. I'm assuming that means for the ChordPro sheet music, but in any case, I'll take it. So I actually want to build a little bit of the intro to Breathe, so we can see kind of how these features, can work together to make something that's really playable. So I'm going to pop back over here to Gig Performer, and if I'm moving too fast or you've got a question as I'm working through these things, do let us know. We already have a question coming in. I'm going to take it here before we jump in. So let's see. Can you change pages in the imported PDF without having to change song parts? Definitely have been waiting for this feature, and I'm going to download the update right now. Can you change pages in the imported PDF without having to change song parts? Nebojsa, you have an answer for that? It seems to me like you could change the pages. I just don't know. I'm not sure I'm understanding your question. Here, I'm gonna pull in Nebojsa here.
Yeah, hi everybody. I think you could always scroll your ChordPro sheets. So okay, basically, these are just going to be images one after the other. The fact that we're not just automatically tying them to song parts does not change anything else. So you can scroll it any way you want. Split them up later, do whatever you want. So any kind of scrolling that you had before is going to work again.
Exactly. Let me demo this. I'm going to demo. Thank you, Nebojsa. I was not understanding that at all. So this is actually included. This is a feature that we have access to. So I'm going to make this disappear temporarily. But if we have, let's see here. So I'm just going to pop in a, well, let's think about this before I do it. Okay, so piano and flute, this piece here, which I'm going to use in a second, has a system actions block in it. So when I pop over to my set list, oh, it's already loaded. How about that? No, piano and flute. Here it is. Okay. So for example, if I go into my panels, piano and flute, I can throw in a knob here and link this to my system actions. And if I choose ChordPro, what this is going to do is give me access to scroll. So if I pop back over now and pull this forward so you can see it, as I move this fader, you're going to be able to get that scrolling happening. So Facebook user, I can't see your name, which is totally fine. But yes, this is a doable thing. And it would work the same way, whether you're using a ChordPro file or whatever it is. The song part names are just an added benefit. And the reason that I think that way, and thinking is everything, guys. Like, your mindset when you're going to play is everything. Because the playing, you can practice that. It's where you're keeping your headspace at that allows you to be highly effective. I know as a player that I have to turn pages. So in my head, I'm like, if I'm going to be playing through something where I've got a lot of part changes or whatever, I want my sounds to change in a way that lines up with my pages. So if I'm just turning pages and I name my parts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll just know my patches are going to automatically populate. So to me, that makes more sense. It's a less labor-intensive way in my mind to do it. However, you can totally do it however you want. Okay, so let's pop back here for now. I'm going to keep this on top. So one of the included features in Gig Performer 4 is the ability to sync the MIDI file player to the global clock. So I'm going to demo this with the intro to this song, Breathe. But I want to just show you what I have going on here. So this is admittedly a little bit sloppy here. If you go in and choose max audio channels, you can get rid of all the extra stuff. So if you don't have a reason to have 1.5 million outputs, you can get rid of them, which is really helpful. So what I've got going on here is I have a really simple guitar patch. Nothing crazy. And then I have a flute patch, which is also nothing crazy. This is just a basic patch. I'm using Reason for this. Very, very simple. But if we imagine a scenario where we want to play the intro to this song, which for those of you who don't know it, is kind of... This is what happens when you have your global Rackspace set up this way. Okay. I'll take this one. Okay, so... It's sort of like a simple song in 3/4. But what's interesting about it is there's a flute and a guitar, and it sort of switches to just guitar. And so in order to play this effectively, you need a third hand, and you don't have one, right? So this is a potential scenario where being able to sync this together could be really useful. So inside the MIDI file player right here, I've got this flute solo loaded in, and I've got this sync button checked. Now this is the new feature inside Gig Performer 4.1. So as soon as this play button hits, this file is going to go, and they're going to stay in time together. So you're going to hear 6 clicks, and then the flute will start. Okay, so very, very simple. You'll see if the global playhead gets stopped, the MIDI file itself stops. But I can have access to this now from within my Rackspace. So if this becomes linked to my system action of play, then I can kind of emulate this from a Rackspace, right? So I get the same thing happening from here. So what's cool is if this lives inside of Breathe, your song starts, or maybe if you guys are playing musical theater at all, you'll know this. Maybe you're waiting for a song to start, right? So you hear your cue line, you're staring in front of a band, and you're waiting for your cue to start, and you're like, okay, I need the click to start, and then I need this flute to start playing, but I actually don't want piano to come out, I want guitar to come out, which we'll get to in a second here. But you hear your cue line, you hit this play, you get your count in, and then you have the ability to and what I love about this is that it just works. The MIDI file's playing, the click is going, I have a really simple keyboard split, but it just works. And it's so important. I think it gets overlooked sometimes. So, okay, we have page 1, and you can hear now, here's my intro. Inside edit, I've got my song part name as intro. This is living on top, and I hit play, and I'm playing the left-hand part here with my actual hand on the piano, which maybe one day we'll work out a way to so you can see what my hands are actually doing. And I've got the flute just playing its own thing. But the reason for that is, if you check out a little bit lower here, there's kind of this intro that starts, and this actually turns into just guitar. So I need a just guitar patch, and I have one. I'm going to show you what it is. So here's my guitar patch. It's so simple that there's nothing here on the front end. But if you check out the back, I've got a MIDI in block. Oops, you can't hear that. I'll fix it. You can hear it now. Okay, so I've got a MIDI in block going to a very simple guitar going out. That's all it is. So when I pop over to my set list, I know for Vox in, I'm going to want that guitar. So I can come down here, choose my guitar patch, and make sure that your MIDI patch persist is turned on. So that you have things kind of fading in and out correctly. Piano and flute, I think, is already turned on. Yep. So now I'm going to have the ability to move to my Vox in on my page turn and have my parts synchronize with what's going on, right? So we hit my play button here. I've got my intro. Right, this is where my guitar is. So super simple. I forgot to get rid of my face here, but that's okay. It is what it is. Super simple, but we now have the ability to, as I'm turning pages, as I'm following along with my sheet music, my patches are changing at the same time, which is really fabulous. Now, we've also done some things to make, we've got some questions come in. We'll come back to this, but we've also done some things to make saving resources easier. So we have this Global Rackspace, and we have actually the ability to very easily copy and paste things in. So if I wanted a little bit more oomph or something on my guitar, I have the ability to easily do that. So we've got some questions coming in, some statements. So first one here, why are some option buttons colored? Let's bring in Nebojsa here. How's it going, Nebojsa?
So I'm putting my hand up. There are two answers to that question. One, Brett is using something called the Hippie mode, which I never use, and I don't recommend anybody use. But nonetheless, we have it. And if you push that button, the colors just change all the time on all the switches and everything else. Answer number two, Brett is giving away a little bit more than 415 because he's using a version that's not 415. He's using a version that's beyond 415.
Uh-oh.
And has a that's perfectly fine. That's coming. Now you guys know what's coming. When we developed 415, we realized some people will want the sheets to be always sized and fit perfectly to width. Some people would like to turn that off and have control manually and say, I want 50% of whatever width, like an image. And we have that option in the version that's coming up after 415, but Brett is using that. So when you see blue and green buttons at the top of the little lyrics window, the one that says keep on top and the one to the left that says the width, control the width, You're not going to see that one until the next update.
Yes,
But
which is coming. And
which is coming, so it's fine. Yeah, Brett is just teasing you guys.
in the next update, I'm not giving away any more features, accidentally, hopefully. But the next update is just as impressive, if not more, than this one. We have some awesome things coming up.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions, we naturally paused. If you have any questions about what you've seen so far, let us know. And while I'm waiting for those to come in, I'm going to keep pushing forward because we've got awesome things happening. And Gig Performer 4.1 is really a step up. It feels like, well, I mean, it is. I guess it doesn't feel like it. It's a major update. There's no games being played here. This is all real. So if we are in our wiring view, what we have the ability to do, and this is from regular Gig Performer 4, but we have the ability to bring in a to and from Global Rackspace. So again, this is not actually a new feature, but I do think it's worthwhile to go down this trail a little bit. So for example, if I wanted to have a tiny bit more reverb on this guitar, but not actually want to insert another reverb, right? Just kind of a way to save a little bit of resource power here. Oops. I have the ability to send my guitar to a Global Rackspace and then pull it back. So let's see. I should disconnect these. So this is going out to my Global Rackspace, and I'm just going to pull it back in as well. So now, when I head over here, I have the ability to add reverb. Now, the part that's new, the new feature, is coming up. So this is what we have the ability to do. Inside of our widget properties, if we head over to Advanced, what we have is these global parameter assignments that we can set. And all this does is kind of help Gig Performer remember what's going on. It's kind of like saying, hey, this thing controls that thing. And it's doing it in a really efficient way that allows you to set levels for things globally from within a local rack space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy. I'm just going to go ahead and copy all of it. Why not? So Command-C for those of you who are on a Mac. And if I pop back over now to my local rack space, here's my guitar. I can enter Edit. Now, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to right mouse click and click Paste. But before I click Paste, I'm going to hold down Shift. And it's going to automatically link these. So I didn't have to do any mapping at all. They're automatically linked. Now, if you're asking yourself why you might want to do this, the answer is because you may want to have those global settings automatically update for you without having to do it manually, right? You may want to have this global idea be part of a local sound. So now that those are automatically set up to be working, I can say, okay, how much reverb do I want? Okay, so maybe that's a good amount of reverb, but maybe it's too big, right? So I can change the size here. And now, if I go somewhere else, right, and let's say for whatever reason this song has a different reverb setting, right? When I come back, this is automatically going to be set up so that that reverb is saved to this specific thing. So this is another one of the features that is included in Gig Performer 4.1. Now, I want to show this as well because I think this can be really valuable. So if you check this out down at the bottom, we've got these 3 buttons, and these buttons here are newly included blocks that allow you to kind of jump to a specific place. So we were talking about this last week a little bit, and the idea is you might want to always have the ability to go back to a certain place, and this was made available in Gig Performer 3 in a different way. But this way is much more flexible, much more efficient. So if you've got a whole list, perhaps you have all of these variations, and you want to jump, you can do that from a widget very quickly. So we've got something coming in here. Bob Miller just wrote in, for anyone who has almost entirely replicated Rackspace panels with Global Rackspace widgets, the shift copy is a lot of time. It's a major time saver, Bob. And I think it's actually like good practice to kind of think about, hey, what are the things I use all the time? Because not only is the copy paste a time saver, what's really a time saver is not having to reconfigure stuff. So, and we have a couple different ways to do that, right? You can save favorites and just drop them in. But in this case, you can really have all of your parameters set up and just ready to go, so you can really easily access them at any point. Yeah, so that gives us the ability to kind of jump through. Now, this could be very valuable for you, right? For example, if you wanted to have a situation where you maybe always need to be able to jump back to a specific place, you could just have that set up. So number one is your piano. Oh crap, I'm not really sure what's happening. I just need a piano sound section. And then I can just click this and I will jump to the whatever it is, the related part, direct variation. So to set that up, all you need is a system actions block, and then you can come into your mapping and choose select part or variation. And they give a very long list here. There are 24 specific variations. And actually, it's good that we did this because I also wanted to include, we have song key ability now, which is really nice. But actually, as I was setting this up, I was like, this might be important to kind of explicitly mention. So we have the ability now to get the key of a song onto a tape, onto a label here. So if we go into System Actions and choose Get let's see, Song or Key. There we go. Song Key. Now, the first time I did this wrong. So I'm going to turn off Customize Caption, and I'm going to turn on Show Value in Caption. So you'll see right now it says not in set list mode, but if you pop over to set list mode, as you change, are these all in C major? This is in C. Let's change it. As you change your songs, it's going to automatically pull that in and just display it. Just in case you want to remember, hey, we're playing this song in this key at this particular time. So one more super awesome feature that I'm very excited about that I actually didn't think I would use, but it turns out I am using it all the time. Used it this morning, actually, is that Gig Performer now remembers what is open and closed. So if you... see, there's my sync. If you have a plugin window open, you're using this and you want to jump and check something in another Rackspace, it's going to remember when you go back, hey, you were still working on this thing. And I find that when you're in the production portion of your preparations, having this open is really, really helpful. This morning I was working with somebody on a setup, and they had actually just downloaded a trial of Gig Performer, was helping them get something set up, and all this guy said was, this is the first time this makes sense. He had gotten all of his stuff set up. He had gotten everything all done on his own. And it was so intuitive that we almost didn't have too much to talk about. He like really figured it out, was coming from main stage. Not actually sure how I got on this topic. But, oh, you know what it was? It was the song key situation. So having the ability to pull that in and just remind him like, oh, hey, here we are. We've got some questions coming in, so we should chat through this. So how is your workflow? Do you guys have the Global Rackspace open at your whole gig? So the short answer is the Global Rackspace is always open, right? It's always available to you, and it's that way on purpose. So I teach a lot of piano lessons, and I teach all of my piano lessons online. So I have my piano sound in my Global Rackspace. The reason that I have it there is there are times where I might use a different sound to demo something specific, but I want to easily be able to get back to that piano patch. The other thing that's nice about the Global Rackspace is that it does go in both directions. So, you know, here it's mostly kind of in this particular setup. Let me pull it up so you can see it. In this particular setup, I'm really just pulling it in and sending it back to my local. But you can have it set up in any number of ways. So if you want to have an instrument in here that just is always on, you have the ability to do that. If you want to use this, just like we have set up here as sends and returns, you have the ability to do that. And what's nice is if you don't want to use it, you just don't send your sound to or from the Global Rackspace. But it really is, it's a time saver, first of all. Second of all, or maybe first of all, I don't know how you want to order it. It's also a resource saver. Okay. Does selecting the number of inputs and outputs put any kind of load on the system, even if they are not in use? Glenn, the short answer is I don't know, but the long answer is I think that it probably is the wrong question to be asking. I think you need the amount of numbers, inputs, and outputs that you need. And so if you're making concessions in any direction because of your inputs or, oops, wrong way, because you can't, your computer's not handling it, there are certain things you can do to optimize your computer. There are certain things you can do to optimize your setup. But I think in reality, if your inputs or outputs are your tipping point for functionality, there's a bigger issue within Gig Performer, within your use of Gig Performer on your machine. So I think don't worry about it. Which that's not the most fun answer. But Glenn, I'm not sure what music you make, but I want to challenge you to begin thinking about how you can do your setups in such a way that are output focused rather than resource focused. That's my challenge to you. That's my challenge to you. I think we had another question come in. I think we've got a software. Yeah. So if there are any more questions, feel free to pop them in the comments. Glenn, I know you said you had a part 2, so I'll be waiting for it. But for now, I think that is all. Okay. Did I miss anything? So we've got our set list set up. We have the scrolling. We have the playheads. I think we covered all the features, guys. I think we actually made it through every new major feature. So let's do this. I am going to pause for questions. If anybody is having an aha moment or being like, this is the thing that I'm definitely going to use, this is the thing I'm most excited to use, let us know that in the comments. But we want to help you get the most out of this particular update. So if you've got any questions about 4.1, you've got any questions about anything we've just covered, let us know. And David and Nebojsa, if you guys have anything to add, would love to have you. If not, that's okay as well. And it'll be totally fine. We'll have a shorter week, and that's okay. All right, Nebojsa's got a hand up. I'm going to pull you in.
I just wanted to add that, as a guitar player, it's important to know that the ChordPro feature that we have now with the PDF is not, either or. It's not like you either use sheet music or your PDF or you use the ChordPro stuff. What I typically do is I'll have some kind of a cheat sheet because one of my bands is playing a lot of songs, but when it comes to my solo, you freeze, you forget the first note. And so it's useful to have like a little image of just your first passage, so it gets you started. So if you forget what the solo looks like, what it should sound like, you have just a little image right in the middle of your ChordPro thing with lyrics and chords. But in the middle where's the solo, you just hear a little strip with your notes, and you're good to go. So it's not, you can mix and match. I just wanted to add that for guitarists. I think that's very important.
What's cool, this is exactly what you're talking about, right? So I have this set up here, song number 1. This is more musical theater. This was me getting ready for today. But then when we switch to Rosanna, I have a chord profile. Next song, I've got this. So yeah, we have access to any of them at any point in time. That's definitely helpful, Nebojsa.
Thank you for your comments for my hat. It is.
It's important. You've got the signature hat. I've got the signature shirt.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I have a collection of hat guys. Hat guys. If you want the different colors, just let me know. I'll switch it over.
It'll be a different hat every week.
Yeah, let's shoot for that. Yeah.
I think the MIDI player is awesome for me because I'm not a perfect two-hand player, and I wrote some new parts on our songs with two hands. So this one I'll try for sure. Yeah, absolutely. It can also really help. The MIDI file player for me is often like, hey, it would be really nice if this thing existed, but it's not playable. Like in the example with like the flute section, where it's like I've run out of you know.
I don't know how to do that. Maybe I don't know, like this, like, and I switch quickly.
It's so good.
Is that good?
It's so good. You know what? The reason I put hippie mode on, where you're about to get an inside view into my thought process here. But the reason I put hippie mode on is because I have to remind myself to not be so serious. So when I see these flashing colors, I see everything changing. I remember that music was always supposed to be fun. And if you're like gigging all the time, you're thinking about, you've got this level of expectation, you've got all of the pressure of delivering a performance. Sometimes you just need to remind yourself there was a point in time where something made you want to play music. And it's a little reminder that's like, hey, it's not that serious. And sometimes it is serious, but it's like a mental reminder for me, which is why I keep it on. But yeah, that's...
What I'd like to hear, Brett,
Yeah.
is what do people think of these shows about new versions and announcing features like this, and then basically we literally released 4.15 just a minute before the show to give you guys access to it.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of that? Should we continue doing that, or should we just release it willy-nilly without announcing and showing you the new features? And what do you guys think?
Yeah, let us know if you're finding the new feature walkthroughs helpful. We're finding them a ton of fun. It's cool to kind of put all these things up there. Glenn wrote in, yes, music should be fun. Otherwise, you should pick a job you can make more money at. We've all thought it. We've all thought it. Please show us before releasing. Yeah, absolutely. Well, friends, helpful. I love it. As a quick recap of some of the things that we have included in 4.1, which is now available to you, let's just go through them real quick here. So thing number 1 is copy and pasting global. This is interesting. Release first will give us a chance to find some questions. Yep, both and, right? Feature number 1, copying and pasting widgets from your global Rackspace. Now remember, in order for this to work, you must have the to and from global Rackspace blocks within your local Rackspaces. Number 2, directly selecting parts or variations from your system actions panel. This is very easily done mapping a widget if you need to jump to something. Isn't it true? Isn't it true? Number 3, using song ChordPro to set location and scroll. So you can now use a widget to scroll your ChordPro location. Let's see if I can demo that really quickly. Okay, and then we can scroll. Same thing works with PDFs, or you can also use the access to kind of page scrolling using your song parts. And open and close plugins automatically. It's our other one here. So if you have something open, you're in wiring view, you've got open a particular sound, you jump somewhere else, you jump back, Gig Performer will remember that it's open, and then syncing the MIDI file player to the playhead. So just a really easy way, right? If you click sync, everything's going to start together and stay together. I actually think we've had some questions come in, so Bob Miller says walkthroughs are super helpful. Even watching and seeing your thought process, it's great, awesome. So happy you're finding this useful. For me, gig performer is the key to have fun. Before the live show, you can think of everything and manage it, and then on stage, you just have fun and press some knobs. Absolutely, that's awesome. Was there one more for you keyboard players? Is it better practice to have fewer rack spaces with more parts used? And switching by MIDI channel, or more rack spaces with fewer parts? I think David wrote in there's no right answer. Fewer rack spaces with more parts used and switching by MIDI channel. Okay. Don't everybody's got their hands up here. Should I bring David? Did you want to come in too, or should I just bring? Hold on here. I think in general. Nebojsa, I don't know if you're going to agree with me here. In general, we want to avoid MIDI channels.
David is right. There's no right answer here. However, my thought process would be, I'm not a keyboard player, but it's the same. My thought process is I think of sounds that I want to create. So I think you'd create your basic, electric piano, Hammond organ, and other sounds you want to have in your palette of sounds. And then you use those in your songs with your song parts. So that thought process is how I think of things. With rackspaces and variations, I create a palette. David, I just scared David away.
Oh, David, you coming? Something crazy is going on with your audio, David. When I unmute you, I get some super crazy feedback.
Don't let it get hard.
Oh, still the same feedback. I'm not sure what that is. It's like, do you have YouTube open also? No. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah,
David,
basically, create your a palette of sounds that you want to use, and then you just connect those to your songs and song parts. If there's a song that requires a specific sounds just for that song, then sure, create a rack space or variation just for that song and that song part. But if you can use it and then do that, I think.
Yeah, I think I actually would love to hear what David has to say about this if we could sort his audio out. But for me, like I want to have both options, right? I'm a major palette thinker, so I really love to turn things on and off manually. But the thing that's nice is, like, in certain cases, that's just not practical. So yeah, if you have a song that's crazy, I would just build a rack space for it. But if you're just like, somebody who plays a lot of music and you get inspiration, you can always alter your rack spaces. So I think I would tend to say, like, build a ton of rack spaces. You don't have to use them. David is saying he hears the feedback from Nebojsa. So let's see here. I'm gonna pull him in. Let's see.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but it sounds like you're Darth Vader. It's crazy.
It still sounds like that? Why?
I don't know, David. Do you have YouTube open? That might be the feedback issue.
Try again. Still coming in?
No, it's still not working. I found that switching between rack spaces could have more issues. I think that, two things. We have a predictive loading feature. So if you're having a major issue, turn that on. And secondly, I think he needs to close and reopen his connection. That could be true, David. I don't really know.
Well, switching between rack spaces should be issueless. You shouldn't be afraid of switching between rack spaces. You should be able to switch anytime you want, as many times you want. And as a matter of fact, we have our testing facility that we have is completely automated. David created it, and we switch rack spaces every few milliseconds and let it run for days, just to make sure you can do that anytime you want. So do not be afraid of switching between rack spaces. That works.
Yep. This is an interesting question. David, let us know if you want us to check your audio again. The band leader asked you to play from measure 40. How is that effectively accomplished? There's no master transport. So I'm assuming you're talking about a MIDI file player. And so there's no master transport, but you can you can scroll your MIDI file.
Hello?
It's still crazy. I'm not sure what's happening. So let me give you a quick demo of this just so you can see. I'll pop this up here for now. So where is my MIDI file?
Hello?
Yeah, it's still the audio is still a little bit funky doodle there. Okay, so if you drop in a horizontal fader, this can be linked to playhead position. Let's see here. Does this work in the MIDI file player? Pretty sure this does. Let's see here. It does not work in the MIDI file player, or just in the audio file player. Yeah. So for the MIDI file player, no. But if you're running tracks, that's fine. Nebojsa, did you have any thoughts on that? It works for audio, right? But just not for MIDI. You're muted. Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So if you're running tracks, then absolutely you can do it. If you're running MIDI files, then that is not a doable thing. But I think it might be doable at some point. So hopefully that is the thing that's coming. David, I'm going to mute myself and see if that helps.
Hello?
There's some feedback of some sort happening, so I'm not sure how that's happening. Yes, so that's a good.
Hello? No good.
No good. Maybe the sample rate is not the same. This is what happens when you have a bunch of people who know about internet audio on the live stream. So these are the big ones. These are the new features that have been included with Gig Performer 4.1. Yeah, these are the ones. We're really excited about it. We want to hear from you too.
Does that work?
Nope. What? Wait, say something again. You're not sure.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, it actually does.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Oh, now it works.
It works now?
Did you have thoughts on that?
Yes. So tell Nebojsa to come back.
He's back.
I don't see him. So here's number one. Never let a guitarist tell a keyboard player how to set up the system.
Just so everybody is blaming me for stuff.
So here's number one. I'm sorry. I don't know what went wrong there, but I was just amused. And Nebojsa started saying stuff. The reason I answered earlier that it really depends on what you're trying to do. It really does. Using different MIDI channels is really a legacy approach. That's the old way to do stuff, and people still do that. But so, for example, in my environment, every one of my keyboards. What's wrong? I can't hear. Am I muted again? Is this not working? Hello?
Yeah, you're starting to distort.
Okay, I'm quitting. I give up.
We should revisit this though at some point because I think it could be good. This is a great thing to put in the feature requests part of the community forum. This way we can kind of keep track of what people are wanting and all of that stuff. It's a hard question to just answer, but I can say I've heard it asked for before. So if it's something you really want, let us know in the community forums, and we'll help you from there. All right. Well, these are the features, friends. Thank you guys so much for being here. We're gonna sign off for this week, but make sure you get your copy of 4.1. If you've been on the fence about 4.1 or Gig Performer 4 in general, do remember we have a 2-week free trial. That is 2 weeks where you can try Gig Performer and see if you like it. It's just really good. Give it a shot and see what you think. Also, if you don't end up buying it, you've lost nothing. Can be really helpful. So thank you guys so much for being here. and we will see you all same time next week. We're coming up on a series where we're gonna talk about Gig Performer for specific genres of music, for specific situations. So that will either start next week or the week after. But it's gonna be really fun. Definitely want to be a part of it. David, Nebojsa, thank you guys both for being here. And we'll see you all next week.